The woman who could see ghosts. Amanda Reed woke with a start, her heart pounding as she gasped for air. The details of her terrifying nightmare were already fading, but the feeling of dread remained. She glanced around her dark bedroom, straining her eyes against the shadows. Seeing nothing amiss, she sank back against her pillows and tried to calm her frantic breathing. Just a bad dream, she told herself. But she couldn't shake the lingering sense of unease as she recalled the horrific images that had plagued her sleep. Amanda closed her eyes, willing her heart rate to slow. Gradually, the anxiety ebbed away, and she drifted back to sleep. The next morning, Amanda went through her usual routine, pushing aside the memory of her unsettling dream. She got ready for work, grabbed a quick breakfast, and headed out the door. The late October air was crisp and cool, leaves drifting down from the trees lining her neighborhood street. Amanda took a deep breath and exhaled, enjoying the fresh autumn air. As she walked to her car, she noticed an elderly woman struggling with her trash cans up a driveway across the street. Amanda crossed over to help, easily wheeling the cans to the curb for her grateful neighbor. After a few pleasantries, Amanda continued on to her car, warmed by the feeling of having helped someone in need. But as she grasped the cold metal of her car door handle, a chill swept through her, freezing her to the core. Amanda's breath caught in her throat as she sensed an ominous presence behind her. Heart pounding, she whirled around, certain someone was there, but no one was in sight. The sidewalk was empty, the street quiet and still. Amanda stood paralyzed, unable to shake the sinister feeling that had come over her. Finally, with shaking hands, she got in her car and drove off, glancing frequently in her rearview mirror. The strange foreboding clung to her throughout the day, distracting her from her work and making her jittery. That night, the menacing presence invaded her dreams once more. Amanda awoke, trembling but unable to remember the details. She prayed she wouldn't have to endure another restless night. Over the next few days, Amanda tried to dismiss the strange sensations as figments of her imagination, but the eerie feelings continued to come in waves, always taking her by surprise. When she mentioned it to her coworkers, they gave her concerned looks and chalked it up to stress or too much caffeine. Amanda did her best to carry on as normal, hoping the odd experiences would soon pass. Then one night, as Amanda headed to her car after work, the hair on the back of her neck stood up. She froze, sensing a dark figure right behind her. Amanda spun around with a gasp, stunned to see the outline of a person hovering in the shadows. Heart hammering, she blinked hard, convinced her eyes were playing tricks. But the silhouette remained, moving toward her. Panicked, Amanda fumbled for her keys, got in her car and sped away, breathless with fear. Once home, she inspected every corner and closet in her house, finding nothing amiss. Exhausted, Amanda crawled into bed, unable to comprehend what she'd seen. The next evening, as Amanda pulled into her driveway, she slammed on the brakes. The shadowy figure was there, lurking near her front door. Terror coursed through her as the dark form glided closer. Then it stepped into a pool of light, and Amanda gasped. It was the elderly neighbor she'd helped days before, Mrs. Collins. But the woman's face was pale, her eyes hollow. Amanda sat frozen as Mrs. Collins gazed at her sadly, then slowly vanished before her eyes. Shaken, Amanda ran inside, double-checking the doors were locked. Had she imagined the whole encounter? She had to be losing her mind. Fitful and frightened, Amanda eventually fell into a troubled sleep. The visitations escalated in the following days. Ghostly figures appeared to Amanda with increasing frequency. On the street, in the office, outside her bedroom door at night, they seemed sad, lost, some trying to speak, although she couldn't hear their words. Amanda considered getting medical help, but knew how it would sound. Her friends already thought her weird moods meant she was unstable or depressed. At a loss, Amanda decided to skip work one day and visit Mrs. Collins's house, hoping for answers. When a man answered the door, Amanda stammered she was checking on her elderly neighbor. To her shock, the man told her Mrs. Collins had passed away right before Amanda first saw her ghost. The man assumed Amanda knew since she'd been so kind to his late mother. Stunned, Amanda drove home in a daze. Some strange force was allowing her to see and sense the dead. She racked her brain trying to pinpoint when it started. Then she remembered the life-changing car accident she'd narrowly survived a few weeks back, right before the nightmares began. Somehow, her brush with death must have opened a portal to the spirit world. Amanda now realized the lost souls were trying to tell her something, seeking her help. Once she accepted her bizarre new gift, she found the strength to overcome her fear. Each time she aided a troubled ghost by hearing their story, they were able to move on and stop haunting her. But Amanda worried she was meddling with forces beyond her control. Her interactions with the dead were draining both physically and mentally. Disturbing dreams plagued her sleep and she struggled to concentrate during the day. But the ghosts kept appearing, their despairing faces impossible to ignore. Late one night, Amanda woke to a chilling presence. A shadowy spirit loomed over her, radiating malevolence. This was no harmless ghost seeking closure. Amanda sensed naked evil. She cowered in her bed as the dark figure moved closer, its intent horribly clear. It hungered for her soul. Amanda begged for the entity to leave her in peace, but it only closed in, savoring her terror. She cried out for help with her last ounce of strength. Suddenly, the room blazed with light and the shadow recoiled with an unearthly howl. Amanda watched in awe as the brightness forced the fiend back into the darkness from whence it came. As the light gradually faded, Amanda wept with relief. She realized the luminescence had come from within, the purity of her spirit overcoming the demonic evil through an act of divine grace. From then on, Amanda no longer feared her extraordinary gift, using it as a blessing rather than a curse. By listening to the spirits of the dead, she could bring them comfort while sending malevolent entities back to the shadows where they belonged. Her brush with mortality had given her the power to illuminate the darkness, guiding lost souls into the light. Amanda Reed was an ordinary young woman living a quiet life in the suburbs. She worked an office job to pay the bills, but dreamed of doing something more meaningful. After surviving a near-fatal car accident, Amanda developed the ability to see ghosts. At first, she thought she was losing her mind, but she soon realized her new gift could help troubled souls find peace if she could overcome her fear. However, using her powers became exhausting both mentally and physically. Then one dark spirit with evil intent tried to consume Amanda's very soul, but with an act of divine grace, she found the strength to force the demon back to the shadows and reclaim her gift as a blessing, not a curse. Now, Amanda embraces her extraordinary ability, using it to comfort the dead and illuminate the darkness. Mrs. Collins was Amanda's kindly elderly neighbor who lived across the street. Amanda used to help her wheel her trash cans to the curb. But one day she sensed the woman's spirit following her and learned Mrs. Collins had recently passed away. Her ghost was the first one Amanda saw, trapped between worlds and seeking help to move on. By hearing her story, Amanda helped Mrs. Collins find peace. This encounter opened Amanda's eyes to the spirit world around her and her newfound power to aid lost souls. Stan was an old friend of Amanda's who was killed in combat while deployed overseas in the army. His ghost appeared to her angry and disoriented, unable to accept his sudden death. Amanda was able to calm Stan's spirit by reminding him of happier times they shared and assuring him his sacrifice was honored. He found closure knowing his family would be cared for. Amanda's compassion helped Stan let go of his turmoil and move on. Detective Blake was the police officer who arrived on the scene after Amanda's life-altering car accident. He always sensed there was more to her survival than just luck and kept tabs on her afterward. When bodies with strange markings started appearing around town, Blake realized Amanda's new supernatural gifts could help him solve these bizarre murders. He became an unlikely ally, teaching Amanda how to harness her abilities to stop evil forces threatening their town. Father Andrews was the local parish priest who Amanda turned to for guidance about her strange new powers. While skeptical at first, the aging priest recognized Amanda's pure spirit and desire to help others. He supplied her with holy water, crucifixes, and prayers for protection against demonic entities. With Amanda's gift and Father Andrew's wisdom, together they rid the town cemetery of spirits that didn't rest in peace. Georgina was Amanda's younger sister who looked up to her and wanted to be included in everything. But Amanda distanced herself from Georgina to hide her supernatural talents. Hurt by the sudden rift in their once close relationship, Georgina secretly started dabbling in occult practices, trying to understand her sister's changes. When Amanda realized Georgina's foolhardy meddling put her in peril, she reconciled with her sister and agreed to guide Georgina on how to use spiritual gifts responsibly. Dr. Singh was Amanda's psychiatrist who tried prescribing antidepressants and mood stabilizers to treat what he mistakenly believed were hallucinations and paranoia. When Amanda stopped taking the ineffective drugs, the concerned doctor recommended she be committed to a mental institution for her own safety. Desperate to be vindicated, Amanda enlisted the help of Mrs. Collins' benevolent spirit to politely manifest during her next therapy session. Dr. Singh's shock at witnessing the supernatural cured Amanda of her troubling diagnosis. Now that Amanda had accepted her gift, life carried on fairly normally despite her surreal encounters with the dead. She resumed working, spent time with friends, and ran errands around town. Occasionally, a ghost would appear needing help or guidance. Though jarring at first, these spirit visitors no longer terrified Amanda as they once had. One bitterly cold winter night, Amanda was home alone reading when the temperature abruptly plummeted. Her breath came out in icy puffs as the windows frosted over. A menacing presence filled the shadowy corners of the living room. Amanda steeled herself as an apparition materialized. It was a young man, handsome but for the bloody gashes covering his face. He stared at Amanda with eyes full of torment. In lifelike detail, she saw his ripped clothing, broken bones, other horrific injuries. This was no peaceful spirit like those Amanda commonly aided. This ghost craved vengeance. In a raspy voice, he told Amanda his name was Scott and that he had been murdered violently by a gang of masked assailants. He showed her gruesome glimpses of being beaten, stabbed, left for dead. Scott had no family or friends to get justice for his vicious slaying. His angry spirit was trapped, unable to move on. He implored Amanda to use her gift to find those responsible for his death and make them pay. Though disturbed by Scott's desire for retribution, Amanda pitied his undeserved fate. She listened kindly as he recounted the details engraved in his mind. The club where he'd been taken, the abandoned building where he was killed, the clues he'd grasped to identify his attackers. Amanda promised she would do everything she could to bring Scott peace. Her blood ran cold as Scott described the leader of the gang, a woman who took sick pleasure in tormenting him. Amanda was repulsed yet fascinated hearing how this female predator manipulated others into committing heinous acts. Scott warned she had corrupted many souls and would keep spreading evil if left unchecked. Amanda set out the next day, determined to get justice for Scott's senseless murder. She contacted Detective Blake, who agreed to surreptitiously investigate the evidence she provided. Meanwhile, Amanda visited the club Scott mentioned, sensing dark energy that made her skin crawl. The staff glared with hostility when she inquired about the night Scott was taken. That evening, Scott's vengeful spirit appeared again with an urgent warning. Someone else was now in danger from the same gang. Amanda probed for more details and learned a teenager named Justin had witnessed Scott's murder, then foolishly confided in a friend linked to the killers. Scott feared Justin would meet the same grim fate if Amanda didn't intervene quickly. Acting on Scott's inside information, Amanda located Justin just in time. The terrified boy confessed the gang was after him, but he was too scared to go to the police. Amanda convinced Justin that Detective Blake could protect him if he testified about Scott's murder. She connected them, also letting the detective know where to find the gang's hideout for a raid. Soon the news reported the perpetrator's arrest, and Justin was put into witness protection. Amanda eagerly informed Scott, hoping this would satisfy his quest for justice, so his spirit could rest in peace. But to her dismay, Scott hardened, saying death was the only just punishment for his murderers. Saddened by his refusal to move on, Amanda gently suggested Scott may find forgiveness is more helpful than festering rage. She told him the story of her accident, how it gave her compassion that guided lost souls into the light. Amanda parted by saying she would always keep Scott in her heart. Weeks passed with no sign of Scott's angry ghost. Then one night, Amanda sensed a presence and turned to see Scott's spirit. But now his face was at peace, the rage gone from his eyes. He thanked Amanda for easing his bitterness and helping him let go of the pain that bound him to the world. Scott could see justice had been served and felt hope for the troubled souls who'd harmed him. With an air of grace, he handed Amanda a single white rose and then vanished into the light. Amanda watched his departure with bittersweet joy, the rose symbolizing Scott's growth beyond grief and vengeance. She placed it in water to commemorate how even the most restless spirits can find salvation through gentleness and forgiveness. The snow drifted lightly on the quiet street as Amanda made her way home one evening after volunteering at a homeless shelter downtown. She was filled with warmth, thinking of the people she'd helped and the uplifting conversations shared. But as she approached her front door, a feeling of unease crept over her. Unlocking the door cautiously, Amanda peered into the shadowy foyer. Seeing nothing, she shook off the ominous sense that she wasn't alone. She flipped on more lights as she moved through the house, scolding herself for being silly, but the prickling dread only grew stronger. Amanda entered her bedroom and cried out in shock. The ghostly figure of an elderly man stood by her dresser, rifling through her jewelry box. Heart pounding, Amanda asked who he was and what he wanted. The man flashed her a toothless grin that made Amanda shrink back. In a gravelly voice, he said his name was Hector. He used to live in this house. and he'd buried a stash of stolen loot somewhere on the property, but he died before retrieving his treasure and needed her help to find it so he could move on. Though leery, Amanda sensed Hector's spirit had no ill intent. She calmly replied that she'd inherited the house from her late aunt and knew nothing of any hidden riches, but she promised to help Hector remember where he'd buried his stolen goods so he could pass over in peace. Hector's ghost grew excited, his bony hands rubbing together gleefully. He said 50 years ago he'd been clever at pilfering jewelry, silverware, and small valuables from homes in the neighborhood. Whenever the stash got big enough, he'd bury it in a steel box in random spots, then eventually dig it up to pawn. Hector boasted of the fine treasures he'd amassed over the decades, but old age made him sloppy about recording his hiding places. Amanda pressed Hector for any small details that could help narrow the search. The cunning specter recalled concealing his last box under the cover of night in a discreet corner of the yard just days before his sudden death. He led Amanda outside, and they wandered in the moonlight, Hector straining to remember more. After an hour, Amanda paused to rest beside a large oak tree near the back fence. Sensing they were close, Hector drifted around the tree, muttering excitedly. Then, with triumph, he announced this was the spot. Amanda grabbed a shovel from the garage and carefully dug beneath the tree's tangled roots. Before long, her shovel hit something hard, and she unearthed a rusted steel box. Hector's ghost hovered nearby, awaiting Amanda's discovery. When she opened the box, they both marveled at the glinting coins, fine jewelry, and other treasures within. Hector let out a whoop of victory to be reunited with his ill-gotten wealth. He turned to Amanda, thanking her profusely for helping an old scoundrel find peace. Then, with a final grin, he vanished into the night. Amanda gazed at the loot, pondering what Hector's descendants would think if they knew this box held their rightful inheritance. After careful thought, she decided to donate the hidden riches to the charity Hector should have given to in life. By selflessly gifting Hector's wealth to those in need, Amanda found the best way to lay his spirit to rest. Amanda sat sipping coffee, enjoying a rare, quiet Saturday morning. A busy week helping needy spirits had left her exhausted. She relished this chance to recharge while working on her painting hobby. As she began lightly sketching an image on the blank canvas, Amanda's senses were suddenly overwhelmed by the smell of turpentine. She turned to see a ragged-looking young woman standing beside her. "You have to help me finish my work," the unexpected spirit implored. Before Amanda could respond, the ghost continued hastily. "My name is Clara. I was an artist just like you, but died before my masterpiece was complete. You're the only one who can see me, so please finish my painting. I can guide your hands. Just let me share your gift so my legacy endures." Though wary of Clara's request, Amanda understood an artist's desire to leave something meaningful behind. She cautiously agreed to let the eager spirit attempt possessing her hands temporarily to finish this important painting, but Amanda insisted she must stay fully conscious and in control. Clara readily accepted the conditions, desperate for a chance to complete her life's purpose. As Amanda held the brush, she felt Clara's presence envelop her right hand. To her amazement, her fingers began moving with graceful skill far exceeding her own abilities. Vivid colors blossomed across the canvas as Clara expertly brought her vision to life. When Clara guided Amanda's hand to add the final flourish, then released her gentle hold, Amanda gasped in awe. The painting was a masterful landscape filled with light, its message clearly one of hope. Clara's spirit gazed at it with bittersweet joy and whispered her thanks. She explained how her terminal illness had cut short her promising artistic career, but now her soul could rest, knowing this profound work of inspiration lived on. With immense gratitude, Clara's ghost slowly faded away. Amanda spent hours admiring the finished painting's majesty and reflecting on Clara's story. She realized that Clara only longed to touch people's lives through her gift. Amanda carefully photographed the artwork to preserve Clara's legacy for generations to come. She titled the painting Eternal Light and resolved to enter it in upcoming gallery showings so Clara's luminous vision could finally inspire people as she dreamed. Through their inspiring collaboration, Amanda felt Clara's indomitable spirit within her own soul. 1 month later, Amanda proudly accepted the top prize at a prestigious art show, awarded for the painting created with Clara's assistance. Many attendees were moved to tears by the artwork's transcendent imagery. Amanda was approached by a museum curator who offered to display Eternal Light in their new wing showcasing local artists. As Clara's breathtaking painting reached an even wider audience, Amanda knew the gifted spirit's passion lived on through her timeless masterpiece. The mournful sound of a lone saxophone awoke Amanda late one restless night. She lit a candle and followed the haunting melody to her basement door. Upon opening it, Amanda heard whispers from below, punctuated by the bluesy strains. Though fearful, curiosity compelled her down the creaky steps. At the bottom, the music stopped abruptly, and Amanda found herself in inky darkness. As she strained to see, a single candle lit across the room. Amanda gasped as it illuminated a ghostly jazz club from generations past. Spirits of musicians and patrons frozen as they turned to stare. A voice rasped, "You ain't supposed to be here, Missy." Amanda turned to see the aged specter of a blues man holding a gleaming saxophone. "This is our sanctuary," he explained. "We spirits who love the jazz life come back to play and reminisce. Hearing music above, I reckon you must be kindred souls. Now come on and show us what you got." Though confused by this strange scene, Amanda always enjoyed playing piano and singing for fun. Surrounded by watchful ghosts awaiting a tune, she took a deep breath and serenaded them with a soulful, melancholy melody. The spirits murmured in appreciation, the bluesman complimenting her raw talent. Another spirit approached, saying she was Sarah, a singer in her time. Her powerful voice used to enthrall the crowds. She yearned for one last chance at the spotlight before fading away. Amanda didn't feel right denying Sarah her wish. She stood aside, and soon Sarah's stirring vocals captivated the shadowy club. The audience stomped and hooted as the stellar spirit belted out heart-wrenching notes with all her might. When the song ended, Sarah's ghost bowed graciously and disappeared in a shimmer. Moved by Sarah's swan song, Amanda lingered to listen as the ghostly musicians jammed till dawn, savoring this echo of their glory days. But eventually fatigue overcame her, and Amanda said her goodbyes before returning upstairs. She fell into a deep sleep, dreaming of the timeless jazz melodies that brought the spirits such joy. Weeks later, Amanda was shocked when her friend asked if she'd seen a popular viral video called "Midnight in the Ghostly Jazz Club." Amanda watched in awe as Sarah soared through the haunting song while shadowy silhouettes swayed in a smoky, candlelit room. Over 10 million views and rave comments celebrated the anonymous singer's virtuosity. Though Amanda wondered how footage was captured on her phone, which she'd left recording by accident, she realized this miraculous event had memorialized Sarah's moving performance for the world to admire. The dynamic spirit's music would endure for generations, reaching a bigger audience than she ever knew in life. As Amanda walked downtown on an overcast fall day, she noticed people staring up at the roof of the old courthouse anxiously. She followed their gaze and saw the ghostly figure of a young woman in a flowing white dress pacing the edge. Amanda immediately sensed the spirit's despair and raced inside, taking the stairs two at a time. Breathless, she emerged onto the roof. The distraught ghost turned to her, eyes brimming with tears. "Please help me. I don't want to hurt anyone. My name is Rose, and I jumped from this roof decades ago after my husband was convicted of a crime he didn't commit. I thought my suicide would prove his innocence, but it only caused more heartbreak, and he died in prison. I regret what I did, but can't take it back. Now my tortured spirit is destined to relive that fateful day for eternity. You're the only one who sees me. You have to make them stop the anniversary event." Confused, Amanda glanced down and saw a large gathering entering the building carrying flowers. Rose frantically explained that every year on the date of her death, a historical society held a reenactment honoring her final moments, but it only kept her trapped in anguish. Amanda promised to stop the misguided event so Rose's soul could finally be free. She hurried downstairs in time to see the group heading upstairs dressed in period costumes. Amanda stalled them with excuses of safety issues, urging the leaders to cancel the dramatic balcony leap. When they balked, Amanda pretended to get a notification on her phone warning of an approaching storm. The crowd reluctantly agreed to postpone the dangerous stunt. Later, Amanda confronted the Historical Society about glorifying Rose's suicide instead of her life. She cited the psychological harm of forcing Rose to keep reliving her death. Chastened, they vowed to alter the event to celebrate Rose's community contributions and tell the real story. Her husband was pardoned a year later when new evidence emerged. Everyone cheered when Amanda suggested an annual college scholarship in Rose's name to support female students. That evening, Amanda and the Historical Society gathered atop the courthouse again, but this time their words were affirming and uplifting. As they released doves in Rose's honor, her weeping spirit appeared next to Amanda. "Thank you for spreading light where there was only darkness and pain. You've transformed a day of tragedy into one of hope because of you. My spirit can now be at peace." With those final grateful words, Rose gently floated over the edge and descended into the light below, her suffering at last transformed by compassion. Amanda was tidying up when she felt the temperature rapidly drop. She shivered, watching her breath turn to mist. The lights flickered eerily. Amanda tensed, whispering a prayer of protection. A rasping voice pierced the shadows. Amanda froze as the ghostly silhouette of an elderly woman materialized. The crone's eyes burned with fury and madness as she crept closer. "Foolish girl, did you think your tricks defeated me? I am Malefica, a witch from ages past. Your pathetic modern magic is no match for my ancient power. Those who cross me pay dearly." Heart pounding, Amanda replied, "She meant no harm, but could not allow evil spirits to remain." Malefica only cackled. She boasted of cursing any who opposed her in life, killing them slowly and painfully with hexes. Though burned at the stake centuries ago, Malefica endured as a specter, lurking in the darkness. Many had tried expelling her over the years, but their weakened human spirits were no match for her unrelenting wrath. She'd been forced out briefly by Amanda's light, but quickly regained strength to seek revenge. Now this meddling girl would suffer for meddling in the black arts she couldn't comprehend. Malefica's hideous laugh resonated through the room as she recited an eerie incantation in an ancient tongue, clasping a glowing amulet. Amanda doubled over in agony as an unseen force crushed her. Gasping, she realized Malefica was summoning one final surge of supernatural energy to destroy her for good. Suddenly, another unearthly voice reverberated around them, speaking in the same archaic language. Blinding white light filled the room. Amanda watched in awe as a radiant winged spirit materialized, towering over the cowering witch. This angelic being was too pure for Malefica's darkness to withstand. With a shriek of frustration, the defeated witch dissolved into vapors. The avenging angel turned to Amanda, soothing her pain and healing her spirit. In a lyrical voice, she introduced herself as Celeste, Amanda's guardian from birth, sent to protect her from forces of evil when she needed it most. Celeste assured Malefica's wickedness was banished back to the shadows and could never regain form to haunt the living again. Amanda thanked the angel, humbled by her intervention. Celeste embraced Amanda, then slowly faded away, leaving a sense of grace and renewal. From then on, Amanda kept a symbolic white feather on her nightstand to remind herself that unseen divine forces work through her to turn darkness into light. Though evil still existed, with faith and love on her side, she had nothing to fear. Amanda devoted herself wholly to her spiritual gifts, at peace knowing she had the angel's blessing guiding her mission to redeem lost souls. Amanda searched the crowded mall impatiently, trying to spot her friend's bright pink jacket. She was distracted and on edge after a stressful week of non-stop spirit encounters. Amanda hoped a relaxing girl's day out would recharge her mentally and emotionally. Just then, a blood-curdling scream pierced the din of the mall. Amanda whirled around to see a woman pointing at the second level in horror. People gasped and backed away as an elderly man's ghostly form pitched forward over the railing. Amanda watched helplessly as he plummeted to the tile floor below, passing harmlessly through people while they recoiled in shock. The phantom figure stood up unfazed and glanced around the mall in confusion. Amanda cautiously approached, asking if he needed help crossing over, but the ghost just frowned, saying he didn't know how he got here or recall passing away. Sympathetic, Amanda gently explained he was now a spirit, but she could try to uncover what happened so he could find peace. Introducing herself as Angela, a distraught teenage girl ran up to Amanda near tears. She had been browsing clothes while her grandfather sat on a bench nearby. When she went back to check on him, he was gone. Amanda realized Angela's grandfather must be the bewildered ghost who didn't understand his sudden death. Angela looked through Amanda incredulously when told what happened. She revealed her grandfather had advanced dementia and wandered off daily no matter how closely she watched him. Amanda suggested checking recent missing persons reports or the mall security footage to see what occurred. Angela called her mom, who began making inquiries while Amanda kept the grandfather calm. Soon there was tragic news. The surveillance video showed him climbing over the railing, presumably forgetting where he was. His body had been found below soon after. Angela was crushed, blaming herself for the brief lapse in attention. Amanda encouraged her to focus on cherished memories that still lived in her heart. With Amanda's help, the grandfather's spirit was finally able to comprehend his passing and comforted Angela. After a bittersweet goodbye, he gave her a ghostly hug, then disappeared into the light. Angela tearfully thanked Amanda for giving her closure. Though still grieving, Angela felt at peace, knowing her grandfather was safe from the confusion that plagued him at the end. Amanda reflected on how death could come suddenly and unexpectedly, even to loved ones under our care. She resolved to appreciate each moment with more mindfulness and compassion. Amanda was arranging flowers in the living room when a frantic pounding shook the front door. She jumped, heart racing. Peering through the window, Amanda saw a disheveled, middle-aged man standing on the porch, glancing around anxiously. She cracked the door open warily and asked how she could help. "Please let me in," the man blurted out. "I'm Jack. I used to live here." He looked over his shoulder nervously again before adding, "I'm being followed. You're the only one who can make them go away." Against her better judgment, Amanda slowly opened the door. Jack barged in, peering out the window, then sagging with relief. "Thank you," he said. "I lost everything gambling and owed dangerous people money. They cornered me outside a bar last night. I tried to run across the highway, but didn't make it." Jack fixed Amanda with a desperate stare. "Now their ghosts are after me. You can see spirits like me. Please help me get away." Sympathetic but cautious, Amanda replied that she would try to aid Jack, but he must tell the full truth. Ashamed, Jack confessed he'd been an addict and ruined his family's life with compulsive gambling. When his debts overwhelmed him, he even stole and cheated to get money for betting, despite promising to get help many times. Jack described the terror of being chased into traffic by the loan sharks he owed. But instead of finding peace after death, Jack was haunted by their vengeance-seeking spirits. He'd been fleeing them for days. Exhausted and scared, Jack pleaded for deliverance from their wrath. Moved by Jack's honesty, Amanda agreed to intervene. The loan shark's ominous ghosts soon materialized. At first, they scoffed at Amanda's pleas for mercy, but gradually she convinced them that stalking Jack's spirit only continued the destructive cycle. His addiction was a disease that made him act desperately. By releasing their anger, they could be free too. The ghosts begrudgingly agreed and vanished. Jack was overwhelmed with gratitude. He apologized for his weakness that hurt so many. Amanda gently encouraged him to forgive himself. She urged him to seek the higher path in the afterlife by making amends through her as a medium. With hope instead of fear about the future, Jack was ready to depart the world in peace. He thanked Amanda sincerely, then walked into the light. Though Jack had moral failings, Amanda reflected that he was capable of growth and redemption when given compassion. She hoped society would be more understanding of addicts who needed help, not judgment. With this revelation, Amanda felt better equipped to guide flawed spirits from darkness into light. When death's veil lifts, souls weighed down in purgatory may seek the living to light their way. But breaching the divide between realms is not for the faint of heart. Only those pure of spirit can illuminate the darkness where ghosts wander without being consumed by it. Tread cautiously, yet keep an open heart. Even spirits lost to evil may be redeemed through compassion's light. Please like, share, and subscribe for more creepy tales from the netherworld. Thanks for your support. Until next time, sweet dreams.